Get the latest on some injury stuff and some news, some interesting news from inside the Eagles locker room today. Dave Weinberg from the Press of Atlantic City was inside the locker room. And, Dave, I see some very interesting things. By the way, Dave has a great column out today I want to get into as well. He calls it Eagles Have No Cure for the Super Bowl Hangover. We'll dive into that and more right here on the Sports Bash on the Boardwalk on the Hotline. Welcome back, Dave. What's happening?
Oh, thanks, Mike, and allow me to congratulate Josh on Employee of the Month.
There he goes. He's got the best parking spot in our lot.
Oh, boy. There you go.
For a month.
For the whole month. I do want to, I see your last tweet here about Malcolm Jenkins. Basically, quote, I can turn on the tape this week of our opponent, the Jaguars, and see that Colin Kaepernick deserves a job. He's taking a pretty nice shot at Blake Bortles.
Yeah, he was. I mean, I don't think that was his intent. He was kind of like trying to defend himself against Eric Reed's ran against him on Sunday and trying to defend himself. But, yeah, he said he's been all along he was very supportive of Eric and Colin deserving jobs in the NFL. And, yeah, he took a little shot at the Jaguars in the process.
Yeah, and, this is a team in Jacksonville that is struggling a lot, much like the Eagles. To you, what is the most surprising struggle that you've seen through 7 games so far? What surprised you that this has still been a problem for this team?
For the Eagles?
Yeah.
Oh, boy, let's see. Their inability to put points on the board.
Yeah.
They've only, they had like 17 points against Carolina. It's kind of been a struggle all year. I mean, they had the one game against the Giants, which I don't know if that really counts, where they were able to kind of break loose a little bit. But this was such an explosive offense last year, and now for whatever reason, they just seem to struggle to get to the end zone.
They're averaging what? Their 22nd offense in the league. They're
Not
the
good.
6th defense in the league, but their defense loses Derek Barnett. What kind of impact, Dave, do you think that will have?
I don't think it'll have as big an impact only because they have a little bit of depth there, and they seem pretty high on Josh Sweat. Why? I mean, he hasn't really proven himself yet, but this is a good opportunity for him. But they already have Brandon Graham and Chris Long and Michael Bennett, which is kind of a big pickup, I think, during the offseason. So that I think the fact that they even Fletcher Cox was talking about how they have some pretty good depth on the outside. So I don't think it'll be a huge impact, although there's no getting around the fact that Derek has a lot of potential, and he was really coming into his own. I know they fully expect him back next year, but I think they have enough depth there to kind of make up for it.
Dave, it's Eitan. Always great to chat. I'm just curious, in your day-to-day, who player, not coach necessarily, what player in your day-to-day is most frustrated, visibly frustrated with the current situation the Eagles are in?
Oh, man, there's a lot of them.
I figured there are a bunch to choose from.
Yeah, that's a tough one. It just seems like collectively they're pretty disappointed in the way things have gone to this point. I don't know that there's one guy who's really, heartbroken or more frustrated than the others.
Oh,
it
okay.
seems like they're all kind of. I'm sorry.
No, let me angle it this way then. Somebody who's
Okay.
probably gotten the least amount of criticism, and I'd say rightfully so, during their struggles has been Carson Wentz, even though that he got criticized, rightfully so, for last week. How is somebody like that, who is a very difficult target to put all your frustration on, how is he handling it specifically, the collective frustration that you mentioned?
Well, he's a competitor like everybody else, and they're not used to failure. I mean, they're a very prideful group, and Carson's no exception. He's boy, that's kind of hard to say. They're all. It was kind of interesting today in the locker room. They all seem to be buying into Doug's stance on the fact that their backs are against the wall. Nobody gives them much of a chance now, and they were kind of playing on last year a little bit, the fact that they had the underdog mentality, and they seem to be trying to conjure that up again. That they're kind of hanging their hats on the fact that they play best when the odds are stacked against them, which is Zach Ertz brought that up, Fletcher Cox brought that up, Brandon Graham, a couple other guys today. So I I get the sense that they're all frustrated, they're all disappointed, but they're all thinking that they're going to be able to turn this around before it's too late.
You know, that's interesting because Doug comes out and says the pressure's not on us, because nobody out there is giving us right. That nobody out there is giving him a shot. And people kind of were critical of him, like, no, the pressure is squarely on you. And then I would say, look, I guess his message is he's trying to regain this underdog form, but isn't that kind of like last year he said this is the new norm, we're embracing this? It's almost like he's kind of backtracking on all that.
Yeah, he is. I mean, he stood up there at the Art Museum and everything is the new norm. We're expected to be in the Super Bowl every year, and now all of a sudden it's that's not the case. We're just trying to nobody gives us a chance, and it really makes no sense. I mean, the pressure doesn't ease just because you got off to a lousy start, and if anything, it increases because you are still the defending Super Bowl champions. You're still expected to at least contend for a playoff spot, and maybe not get back to the Super Bowl because that almost never happens with a Super Bowl champ. But to be 3-4 is totally as a huge disappointment to the fans, to the team, to everybody, and for him to kind of paint them as underdogs is just ridiculous.
Dave, with the current state of the Eagles, I mean, you've been in the locker room every day. You're covering the team all year long. Yep. They're 3-4, coming off a bad loss. Now they have to get on a plane and go to London. Do you think this is good timing, bad timing, or neither? Like, what's the vibe in the locker room with them about to gear up and get on a plane to go to London and play a game at 9 a.m.?
It's kind of a mixed reaction. I mean, there's some guys who, like Zach Ertz, for one, he's not a big fan of long travel. Especially on red-eye flights. But there are other guys who seem to be treating it as a kind of a chance to bond a little bit, to regroup, to get out. I think it's probably good in the sense that they're, getting out of town, getting away from the criticism and the heat, so to speak. And from that standpoint, I think it might be a little bit of an advantage, although, the Jaguars are used to playing over there, so I would think that they have the edge in that.
Dave, your column, no cure for the Super Bowl hangover. So do you think this is just one of those years? We've seen them before. The year they went to the Super Bowl in 2004, the T.O. did sit-ups in the driveway, and that season just never got back on track. There are other years that we could think of that just wasn't it. There was injuries. It just kept happening, and then the year just kind of gets away from you. Does this year have that feel?
Honestly, yeah, it does. Doug kept insisting all through training camp that they have moved on, that, he was almost trying to will it that, that last year was last year. This is a new team. This is a new year. He took down the sign in the locker room, which was, for what reason, I have no idea. But, I just think this is just one of those years where, like anything that could go wrong is going wrong. Injuries to key players. Darren Sproles hasn't been able to come back. It seems like everybody's getting old at the same time. Jason Peters is on one leg and one arm. It just seems like all the negativity and negative factors that kind of like struck the team. It's almost like every week something different happens, and it's almost like they're jinxed.
And then, of course, the injury bug has really caught up to them. Yes, last year, that was a big problem, but how many times can you keep asking for the next man to step up? It seems that they last year, Cats have 9 lives. They might have had 9 lives. It looks like they spent all those lives last year. We'll see. Do you like this matchup this week against Jacksonville?
Yeah, I do. I think it's going to be pretty close. It's going to be closer than what people think. It seems like there's kind of like the vibe that the Eagles are going to roll through this, but I don't think that's necessarily the case. Both teams seem to be in the same kind of situation, kind of a desperation mode. I like the Eagles to bounce back. They seem to have demonstrated that ability in the last couple of years. Whether they're going to do it this year, I don't know, but I kind of like their chances in London.
All right, Dave Weinberg from the Press of Atlantic City. Check out his article on the Super Bowl hangover right now, his Wednesday column at pressofatlanticcity.com. Are you heading over across the pond there, Dave?
No, I'm maybe over Lily Lake and Kimmie Point. That's about it.
All right, pal. Well, we'll catch up next week.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.